All right, so going forward, I just wanted to say that. So what I was appreciating is that the YouTuber Casey Zander, who does content on dating, but he also actually commends faith, even though as he's talking about dating, he's saying that a person, a person needs confidence to be successful in life. So a lot of our life is a function of our socializing and our confidence professionally, romantically, and personally, like with friendships. A lot of it has to do with our confidence. But according to Casey Zander, there's no confidence without faith, because you need something to stand on to inform your confidence. And the deepest rock to stand on, the most unshakable thing, is faith. I completely agree with him on that, and I commend him for making those statements. But also that's very attractive, because when you have faith, you become intelligent, because you're thinking about things, you're likely reading things, you become intelligent, and you also become a stronger communicator, because you're more aware, you're more self-aware, and you also have tact, because you have a level of decency about what may or may not be a strong thing to say. And most different faith backgrounds, they have an appreciation for speech, for speaking. They understand how influential speaking is. If you think about how influential a bird can be singing, how if you were trying to create something, how distracting a bird singing could be, or an instruction, or how a bird could, if you were lifting something heavy, how subtle the singing of a bird could affect you, maybe for better or worse. But then the speaking is like that too. Our words are like that, but in even more profound ways. So most faith settings that will have an appreciation for speaking, and chastity around speaking. You could almost say that all chastity is a function of speaking, because a lot of our outcomes, like what we're able to do and not do with people, whether personally, professionally, socially, even sexually and romantically, what the experience we're able to have with a person is a function of our way of communicating. Like some people would say, sometimes a woman might say that they were satisfied or not satisfied with the lover, and actually what they actually might be referring to is actually that lover's way of communicating, because even the lovemaking and dating is still communicating. But also within even lovemaking, what you're able to do lovemaking, what you're able to suggest, what you're able to introduce, what you're able to attempt, and your way of loving someone is also how you're talking to that person. Like the speech, you actually can't. So some people would say like dirty talk, like it might actually beg to can you actually have like certain experiences without dirty talking? That might be a question. Um but our speech is like a lubricant for our outcomes, and for in all settings, in all ways. And so if you are like if you are like if you are reckless in your speech, if you can be appreciated as reckless in your speech, a lot of your conduct can be appreciated as reckless. Where some people actually like people that are reckless, like in conduct and dating. Some people would like that, and it would be boring if you weren't like that. But then other people would appreciate different things, uh, but you obviously you have like you have laws and etiquette and culture and mores in anything you're doing, and you can't look past that, because if you do, you might offend a sacred cow, and then you have a problem. If you go visiting another place and you offend something that you didn't know was sacred, like a cow, you could have a lot of problem doing that. But so part of chastity, if we are talking about chastity, that's like maybe abstinence, because there's a distinction between abstinence and celibacy. I think celibacy is taking religious vows, and abstinence is abstaining from sexual activity, whether or not there had been religious vows, and equally as not if there had been not been religious vows. Abstinence is yet distinct from celibacy, but even a person, but both of those can be appreciated as chaste. And I would say that if a person actually is chaste, that would be a mode of their communication would be part of that, because communication, it facilitates what we can and can't experience in terms of interacting with other people, including romantically and sexually, and that can work for and against us both being chaste and not being chaste. Um, but um, but so but so but some of the people I've been attracted to have had faith. And so what I wanted to say is that And all I was going with this one is that, like, some people would say, so I think that being very spiritual, like Arthur Avalon talks about, is that part of being spiritual is being graceful. A large part of being spiritual is being graceful, even more than like sophisticated, like ancient teachings and what this number means and what that color means. What's greater than that is just being graceful. And whatever it would take or mean for you to be graceful, that can be appreciated by other people, and then that can be felt by you with the grace and favor you get from other people. And some people have said that favor is worth more than silver and gold, and that is very true. That's a statement of the Bible. There's a brother at a gas station where I was at. It's in the area where I'm at, and so there were like a lot of people there. But the way I was dressed, he gave me a pound. Like he gave me a gesture of respect in front of other people. That was very. He didn't say anything. He just gave me a pound, and that meant a lot. That's favor right there. Now I'm more comfortable doing business there. I'm having more graces doing business there. Even those people who saw him pound me, they or give me a pound, they're having more respect for me. So if I were to come across them there, I'm gonna have a different interaction with them there, them having seen that, than if I had done something that did not go over well, that did not look good, that was not graceful. If I had had the opposite reaction with that person there, now I'm having more unnecessary antagonism there where I'm doing business where I need to do business because I fill up gas there. That might be a strategic place for me to fill up gas, and that affects how I make income doing delivery work. So from that's a clear example of how favor is worth more than silver and gold, because that favor amounts to the opportunity and also the health and well-being, but the opportunity to earn what can be redeemed for silver and gold. The favor had been more important, because without the favor, we're not getting anywhere. But part of but I wanted to say that part of so grace is very grace and favor. Grace might be another word for favor. Grace is favor is an outcome and a dimension of grace, but grace is probably beyond favor. But great favor is still part of grace. But being graceful is more important than being spiritual, I think, and it's part of being spiritual. The greater part of being spiritual. And then with that, but part of being graceful is being tolerant. And so Arthur Avalon would say that a really spiritual person is Catholic in that. And when I'm saying Catholic, I'm not referring to Christian necessarily. I'm saying Catholic is that it's like broad and diverse, and it's tolerant of different approaches. I think that's what that word Catholic means. That's what the real word Catholic means. But I know that even there has been some things considered intolerant within the Catholic Church, and that maybe the Catholic Church has been victimized and maybe has also victimized others. I don't know the history of that, but I'm not saying that what's called Catholic religiously is perfect, but being Catholic and being tolerant of other and also maybe incorporating other sources is part of being spiritual. So I want to say that with that, some faiths would say that this faith is the one way, or that there is one way. And I can't argue either side of that, but I think that maybe what the one way is true for a person if that is where they're from and coming from, and that's their way. But the greatest sense, one way, is that part of there being one way is that there are different ways, and that is part of the one way. And where you are within your one way is part, but then you having respect for other people's histories and traditions and values and faiths. That is part of what works for you is your one way, but you respecting what works for other people is the one way that does fly. And so I want to say that I'm making these statements by saying that part of the greatest, so the true path might be respecting what is the true path for us, and that there are different paths for other people, and their paths are appropriate for them and their one way. And by you respecting that difference is what the one way is. And that's actually part of reality, because I think that reality it's both heterogeneous and homogeneous. It's distinct parts that make a composite, an aggregate, a greater part. But the greater part is not, in a certain sense, greater than any single part, because the greater part is not possible without the single part, nor is the single part greater or possible without the total aggregate, because it also wouldn't be viable without the aggregate. And you can appreciate that in an ant, the approach of an ant, a team player and an individual.